Good evening and many thanks for joining me for the next 20 odd minutes. I'm Michael Medimba and welcome to Monday's edition of the Primetime News Bulletin. And leading our bulletin tonight, the Namibian government has strongly condemned the recent attack by the Israeli government on civilians sheltering at Al Tabin School, a refuge for displaced Palestinians in Gaza. In a media statement issued on Sunday, the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation denounced the act as barbaric. Here is a voice note from the Minister's Executive Director, Ambassador Penda Nanda, expressing these sentiments.
The international community, particularly those who have condoned the Israelis' atrocities, bear responsibility for the failure to protect the innocent civilian, especially women and children. The international community cannot claim to uphold the international law while standing idly by as Palestinian women and children are systematically slaughtered by the Israeli government. It is saddening to learn that over 100 people were killed and many others injured when the Israeli aircraft targeted Palestinians performing down prayers at Al Tabin School in Al Daraj neighborhood. These are human beings who simply want to live their lives, but have unfortunately been subjected to cruelty and perpetual occupation. The government of Namibia calls on the international community to exercise its responsibility, and in particular the United Nations Security Council to take immediate action to end aggression against the Palestinian people in Gaza Strip and ensure adequate protection of civilians. We call for appropriate measures to be taken against those responsible for these atrocities and for them to be brought to justice in order to deter and prevent further crimes. Namibia further calls on the United Nations Security Council to implement its resolutions and to compel Israel, the occupying power, to respect international law and United Nations resolutions. The government and the people of Namibia will continue to support the oppressed people of Palestine until they are able to exercise their inalienable right to self-determination.
Now, earlier today, the Minister of Education, Arts and Culture launched a digital school pilot project. One school per region has been selected for the pilot, with the exception of the Commerce and Hardap regions, which each have 2 schools. The launch, graced by Minister of Education, Arts and Culture, Anangi Pondoka, also celebrated the graduation of 53 teachers. Lydia Pitiri brings us the details.
Therefore, 16 schools will benefit from this project, with one of the schools in Hardap being a resource school. When I talk about resource school, I mean the previous special schools. We now call them resource schools because we want to expand them and equip them so that they can serve as resources to any other school in the process of implementing our inclusive education policy on education. Our hearts are filled with gratitude as we embark on this transformative journey. This project, which also extends its benefits to our neighboring nations of Angola, Zambia, Lesotho, Madagascar, and South Africa, represents a beacon of hope and progress in our shared pursuit of educational excellence. We are also celebrating a special group of individuals, our graduates. To the 53 teachers who have completed their online digital training, congratulations. Your dedication and commitment to embracing digital skills, I know you have been doing this on your own time. Nobody was really supervising you. It's online, but you did it, you made sure you pass. This is just an indication of a real life of a teacher, an educator who is always ready to go out and find more and more information and equip yourself more. yeah, and to be relevant to the developing, knowledge. Knowledge is not static.
On to updates from East Africa. The death toll from a garbage landslide in the Ugandan capital Kampala has risen to 23, as city officials said earlier today. People and livestock were buried in mountains of waste at the landfill in the northern Kampala district of Kitezi on Saturday after a collapse caused by heavy downpours. AFP brings us more.
Over the weekend, excavators churned through the huge rubbish mounds as the desperate search for survivors was watched by wailing and weeping residents. The incident was described as a national disaster by City Mayor Arias Lukwago, who warned at the weekend that many could still be buried in the heap as the rescue operation continues. He had raised concerns over hazardous risks of overflowing waste from the 36-acre landfill, which was established in 1996 and takes in almost all garbage collected across Kampala. Several areas in Uganda and other parts of East Africa have been battered by heavy rains recently, including Ethiopia, the second most populous country on the continent.
Switching attention to developments from the tragic Brazil airplane crash. Brazilian authorities on Saturday finished recovering the bodies of the 62 people who died when their plane tumbled from the sky, as experts begin examining the doomed aircraft's black boxes to determine the cause of the disaster. AFP brings us more.
The aircraft, an ATR 72-500 operated by Vupas Airline, was traveling from Cascavel in southern Paraná state to Sao Paulo's Guarulhos International Airport when it crashed in the city of Vinhedo. Image broadcast on local media showed a large plane spinning, while other footage showed a large column of smoke rising from the crash site in what appeared to be a residential area. The regional government on Saturday said a total of 62 bodies, which include 34 males and 28 females, were recovered and taken to the morgue in Sao Paulo for identification and delivery to their families. Vupas Operations Director Marcel Moura said the plane had undergone routine maintenance the night before the accident and that no technical problems were found. Sylvia Hashondali reporting for Primetime News.
Stay tuned for your top roundup with the business segment afterwards. Welcome to the Primetime Biz segment, your premier source for all things business related. The Minister of Environment, Forestry and Tourism, Pohamba Shifita, announced earlier today that revised payment adjustments under the Human-Wildlife Conflict Self-Reliance Scheme will take effect on the 1st of September 2024. Shifita noted that the scheme's payments are designed to partially offset livestock losses, providing compensation at rates that do not cover the full value of the animal, but aim to alleviate the financial impact on farmers. Here is an insert from the announcement.
We believe that the increment of self-reliance scheme will effectively support communities, individuals and farmers to directly offset their losses caused to livestock crops and also support persons injured by wild animals. This is also to meet the moral obligation of the government to support families who have lost a family member to a certain species of wild animal under the conditions where the affected person could not reasonably have been expected to defend himself or herself or to avoid the incident, and where the family has to incur costs for funeral and other related costs. Now, this is something that we have been explaining to people, and apart from effecting payments, we have some other measures we are taking, that awareness campaign, especially those who live close to rivers, our perennial rivers, because most of the loss of life normally caused by crocodiles. And the crocodiles, when they are in their territories, that's in the turf, the river, when they are in the rivers, whoever comes there is a meat to them, especially nowadays that the rivers are very low, and the food for these animals.
On to matters pertaining to infrastructure. The National Council Standing Committee on Transport, Infrastructure and Housing met with stakeholders in the Umsati region earlier today to discuss the motion aimed at providing land as well as housing to urban poor communities. The motion adopted by the National Council last year seeks to address the challenges of inadequate land as well as housing delivery in urban areas. Let's get more details from the following insert.
On 3.1, what causes the shortage on the housing backlog? Okay? I'll give a scenario for the bill together. We give houses to these people that we are saying they cannot afford, and then we sell these plots at a value of, to say, 6,000 or 5,000. What we have experienced now is that these people are selling these Evans and they are coming back to our list. This is one of the problem that we have. So you will find that the same person whom we have allocated the plot in 2016 there is now coming back to the office. That's one. However, we have to admit that what we have constructed, the number of houses that we said we constructed for or the people who cannot really afford, is also not enough. If you look at the statistics I gave you, I said 59 and 66. It's quite not significant. That's one of the problems that we are having. And really people cannot afford. We used to have events that we are selling. Like now we have plots that we are selling, but only some that are able to afford. The reason B is because we have to get this money from our own sources, and we need to put it back. So the fact that the government have stopped funding us to service these events or to provide us with enough funds is the one that's causing a problem.
Up next in that order is the Economics Roundup, a summary of tomorrow's countrywide weather forecast and the Sport Planet segment. Stay tuned. Welcome to Sport Planet, the segment dedicated to all things sport in action. We commence with local rugby. FNB Grootfontein earned important points in the victory against Rio Falcon on Saturday, keeping the chances of reaching the playoff stage alive with one game remaining in the season. Now, during round 15 of the Rugby Premier League, the northern side Soul team travelled to Rehoboth and secured maximum points against Rio Falcon, who completed for the final playoff spot. The Grootfontein rugby team defeated FNB Rio Falcon with a score of 40-34, extending their lead over the chasing team to 7 points. On to the latest in English football transfers. Chelsea announced the signing of Portuguese winger Pedro Neto from Wolves on Sunday for a reported fee of £54 million. Neto has signed a 7-year deal and will cost an initial £51 million, with a further £3 million in add-ons, according to reports. Now, the 24-year-old becomes the Blues' 9th signing of another busy transfer window for the London club since the takeover 2 years ago by a consortium fronted by LA Dodgers co-owner Todd Boehly. Chelsea have now spent around £185 million in the past few months, much of which has been splashed on prospects for the long term. By contrast, Neto is expected to go straight into Enzo Maresca's first team plans ahead of the Premier League opener at home to Manchester City next weekend. Stay tuned for your sports roundup. This concludes tonight's edition of Primetime News. Many thanks for tuning in. A reminder to follow the on-screen prompts and subscribe to the Nampa TV platform to stay updated on developments shaping the global village. On behalf of myself, Michael Medimba, and the crew behind the scenes, it's good night.